back to The Cinnamon Effect. I'm Kimberly Hand, and today I have Elizabeth Tringali here with me in the studio. Elizabeth is the visionary behind Tringali Vibrant Health, her functional medicine practice located in West Palm Beach and Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. At the heart of Elizabeth Tringali's approach is a profound compassion that patients feel the moment they meet her. As a board-certified physician assistant with a fellowship with the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, she has an expertise and deep commitment to functional medicine. Elizabeth is known in Palm Beach and throughout the world for guiding her patients towards vibrant health and longevity. The core of Elizabeth Tringali's medical practice is her ability to weave natural therapies with the latest medical advancements, ensuring a balanced, personalized path to health for each patient. Welcome to The Cinnamon Effect, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me, Kimberly. I feel very blessed to be here.
Thank you. Thank you this is a part 2 episode. So our first episode we filmed, we talked about a lot of stuff.
Everything under the sun. I like diarrhea of the mouth for anti-aging.
All the anti-aging things. Mm-hmm. Yes. So we are going to start today kind of diving more into the gut and gut health and how important that is.
I mean, it's huge. It's the gateway from what's outside, the outside world, and those foreign invaders and bacteria and mold and heavy metals, all those things come in, through the gut, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't have a healthy gut lining, you don't have the ability, that first line of a defense, to bind these toxins and send them through your lymph or your stool, whatever. So then they're going through the gut into the bloodstream, into the brain. Mm. So very important to keep your gut healthy. And a lot of people forget with the gut, that also includes the nose, your sinuses, your mouth, because what you're breathing in, like that postnasal drip, that's going to the gut. So if you have a staph or a strep infection in your nose, that's going to affect your intestines. And then your mouth, if you have any, I think we may have talked about this on the other time, but if you have like an old root canal and an abscessed tooth you don't know, or a cavitation in your tooth, this just happened to my neighbor. So a cavitation is not a cavity, and you have to see it with like a cone CAT scan. So it's not your typical imaging that you do. So if you have an old infection in your mouth that you have no idea about, that is seeping into the lymph, so that goes into the breast tissue, into the gut, all throughout the body, making you sick. So really important to think about your mouth when you're thinking about the gut.
Wow.
Right?
That is interesting.
Yeah, no one talks about that.
Yeah. How do you know, just because a regular dentist, would they be able to find something like that?
No, unfortunately. You have to see a biological dentist. And there's several in town, that I can give you to put on the podcast. Actually, that might be good for you to interview them.
Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah.
So they do specific x-rays to find things. But as a listener, if you do have a root canal, seek out a biological dentist, get a specific x-ray to make sure that tooth's not making you sick. One of my good friends, I'm downtown West Palm. He owns actually the box bit studio there. He was,
cool.
He was telling me he was having all these problems one day, and it turned out it had to do with his Invisalign was affecting the tooth meridian that innervated the bladder. So he's having bladder issues linked to his Invisalign affecting certain teeth. So in Chinese medicines, there's all these different meridians, these different pathways that affect different parts of your body. And it was really interesting that happened to him. And I'm like, gosh, I had to pull out my little tooth chart. And if you Google it, there is like a tooth meridian chart that tells you, okay, the thyroid is affected by tooth 31. It's not tooth 31. I'm just making that up. But there's a certain tooth that affects the thyroid meridian. And so if there's an illness or problem with that tooth, it will affect that organ. So cool.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Chinese figured that out a long time ago.
Yeah, I need to talk more about that, like with my acupuncturist, because the teeth, I always heard that the health of the mouth is like indicative of the health of your entire body.
Everything. Yeah. They're finding now with Alzheimer's disease, certain bacteria is going to the brain from the mouth. And of course we know cardiac disease, that's been around for a long time. Like if you've got tartar in your teeth, you're going to have plaque in your arteries. Even rheumatoid arthritis, they're finding like Citrobacter bacteria that was in the mouth or in the gut is going to the joints. When they do like hip surgeries, sometimes they're finding that, again, dental bacteria is translocating into the hip and causing the arthritis there. So a lot about the bugs in our body, in our mouth, in our gut, affecting more than just the gut. So people will say, I don't have any gut issues. And I'll do my workup. And I'm like, well, do you have any brain issues? Because you maybe, and this happens actually even with some celiac patients, they don't have any stomach issues, which is shocking to me, but they'll have rashes or they'll have brain fog or like a certain like psoriasis type thing on their skin, but they won't have what we're taught in school, like, diarrhea and all these GI issues. So Pretty much any skin issue is gut. Neurological issues can be gut. Emotional issues can be gut. We make neurotransmitters in our gut, right? And I think diet is so important because it's hard to get foods that are real now. A lot of things are genetically altered. Tomatoes have a fish protein in them.
What?
Yeah, if they're genetically altered. And that fish protein, when you gas it, will make it red. So they'll keep these tomatoes frozen that they genetically altered with this fish protein. Then when tomatoes are out of season, they bring them out, they gas them, and then that is your tomato you're eating. And they don't taste like they did when we were little, right?
No.
Like they don't have the flavor. Now in Europe, they don't do that. So they don't do genetically modified foods, or now they call it genetically engineered foods. And I understand why they're doing it in the States. They're saying, we're doing it to feed the world. And, America does feed most of the world, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to come up with some engineering to do that. But the microbiome is being affected. It's not studied well enough to say, okay, I've genetically altered our wheat now. I want everyone to start eating it. And we don't know the repercussions for the next few generations, but we do know the immune system is being altered and people are more inflamed. We do know that. We do know that the microbiome in the gut is being affected by glyphosate and pesticides that we didn't have. They're not naturally occurring. When I check people, everyone has it. I don't care if you're eating 100% organic. It's in the water. It's in the air. You're getting glyphosate.
Wow.
So when that affects the microbiome, that's affecting diseases, and it's turning on certain receptors and pathways that shouldn't be turned on because it's not something natural to the body.
Wow. Crazy. So everyone has some kind of gut.
Everybody. I don't care.
Gut issue.
Yeah. And now in today's age. Yeah. So I'll do a food allergy test to see what foods are causing inflammation in the gut, because you can change your microbiome in 3 days by just taking out certain foods that are inflammatory.
Wow.
3 days, and they've done studies. So I'll do a food allergy test. And then I'll also do stool testing. Mm-hmm. I use GI Map, or Genova has a good one as well. And it checks different markers of digestion. Do you have enough pancreatic enzymes, which honestly, a lot of us don't. And in menopause, and if you have thyroid issues, you tend to not make enough pancreatic enzymes. So your food's just sitting in there fermenting and not digesting. It'll check which bacteria are out of whack, if there's any viruses or parasites in the gut. And it's difficult for our test to really get the parasites. That's why I do like my little biofeedback device.
Yeah. Can tell you a little bit more.
Yeah. Because if the test is only checking, say, for 10 parasites, but there's literally millions of parasites. Mm-hmm. If you're only testing 10, how are you going to see those other ones, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, because they're little single cellular amoebas or protozoas, by the time they get to the lab, they just shrivel up and die. You don't see them. And it's one stool sample, and your colon is what? They say as long as a football field, if
right.
the surface area. Right?
Which seems mind-boggling.
Yeah. Really. It's a surface area thing. So, but so you can't in one sample get everything, but you will see when someone really has a microbiome that's a mess, and then we'll use certain things to fix it. So I love my peptides. I got a peptide certification, and when they first came out on the market, it was 2018. And the best one to fix the gut, that is an oral peptide, and the price has come down a lot, is the BPC 157 peptide. Have you taken that?
Yes, I have taken that.
Have you noticed that it helps you?
I do notice. Yeah. I also notice joint, feeling the joint pain kind of goes away too.
Yeah, it's an anti-inflammatory peptide, and it's a healing peptide. So really good for the gut. There's another one called KPV. Have you tried that one?
No.
Mm-mm. But it's interesting, when I use the BPC, the KPV, and there's another one called lorazepatide.
Okay.
People will say, I didn't realize my gut was that bad, but my brain is working better. So it's helping the brain fog they had. And it's a lot of times people don't even know they have brain fog because we're so busy with our everyday lives and working, trying to make a living, put food on the table. We don't even take the time to really think, do I have something going on? Which again, my 20,000 page intake does make you stop and think of certain things because there's so many questions in it. But so those are some things I like. You mentioned earlier you love colostrum, and very beneficial. I love colostrum too, but it does have casein. And when I do my food allergy test, casein and dairy do show up. Some of the colostrums on the market still have lactase. A lot of them try to remove it, but these are from dairy. So you could get more issues with your gut, or a runny nose, or brain fog from the dairy. Dairy gives me brain fog. I can't think straight when I have dairy. It's crazy. And then I'll get asthma from it. I'll have a histamine reaction.
Oh, interesting.
So instead of colostrum, I use immunoglobulins. Okay. And I formulated some with a probiotic, a spore probiotic. And that's one of our top sellers is the Spore IG. But the reason we like Spore is it supposedly can bypass, the stomach acid in the gut and go into the intestines.
Okay.
And the studies show that it works better. It also is really good for COVID. The spore probiotics help repopulate the colon. I'm going to totally ruin this word, but it's like F. pernitzi, something like that.
Okay.
That's the bacteria that's studied to really die from COVID. And the spore probiotics, the bacillus in it, have been studied to actually repopulate the colon with that. So lots of things you can do with spores. And then the immunoglobulins, which are dairy-free, which is the one I use in that probiotic, they actually come, and this is so disgusting, they come from the blood of a cow. And people are like, oh, Elizabeth, that's gross. I'm like, well, you want the milk of a cow? You want the blood of a cow?
Yeah, right?
But they're rich, in immunoglobulins. And those immunoglobulins, like we were talking at the beginning of the show, they block all that stuff that's coming in from the outside world and bind it so it's not going through that cell membrane into your body. Because again, that first line of defense that's in colostrum, that's in our body naturally, and in these immunoglobulins, it's IgG. So if you're low in this immunoglobulin naturally, you can take it to help boost your immune system and bind the bacteria or viruses or whatever's coming in that you're swallowing.
Okay. So really the gut is the first line of defense, right? And you have to you might have to take certain supplements or detox foods,
change your diet.
Yep. Change the diet. But you can tell so much, by kind of diving into that. You mentioned COVID, and I want to talk about this thing I've heard about, long COVID.
It is real.
It's real.
And I think I had it.
Yeah.
And with all the things I do, a study came out actually in Lancet, one of our big journals, and it was saying how long COVID was actually linked with mold toxicity. And people that had died from long COVID, they were finding in the autopsies aspergillosis, which is a type of mold.
Really?
So one of my mentors who I love is Dr. Andrew Campbell. He was teaching me, like, when you're treating long COVID, always look for mold, which I look for mold all the time anyway, because I had it. So of course it makes me like hyper focused on it. But we live in Florida, and it's like probably 70% of the people I see do have mold. But with long COVID, you've got to look for those mycotoxins.
Okay.
And so I do that, and I like to do stool to see, are they low in that bacteria that's wiped out from COVID, that F. pernitzi.
Okay.
And then you can check mitochondrial function. You can check levels of NAD. So a lot of people with long COVID are low in intracellular NAD, but that's like kind of a pricey test. So it might be just cheaper to give them NMN, which is the precursor to NAD. NAD is a coenzyme from a B vitamin, B3 actually, and every single cell in the body needs it to make energy.
Okay.
And if you're low in it, you're going to have long COVID. I mean, any infection is going to do that, but these infections are hijacking our mitochondria, especially COVID, and then the mitochondria can't be that turbine engine it's supposed to be to produce all this ATP. So I'll use NMN, I'll use the methylene blue we talked about in the previous show to activate the mitochondria. Red light is great for the mitochondria. Ozone in Europe, where they didn't have the more advanced therapies that we were using in America, they were using rectal ozone, IV ozone. Italy was doing IV ozone often, because ozone is really inexpensive, but you can't monetize it. So in the States, if you can't monetize something, unfortunately, you don't really hear about it. And people don't realize that. They're like, well, why wouldn't we do this? It's so cheap. The drug companies are the ones that do all the research, and then they present it to the FDA, and they pay the FDA, and there's a lot of money involved in research. And so with ozone, no one's going to pay millions or billions of dollars to do research on something that's really cheap to do. So I love ozone though for long COVID, because it does help that the virus they're finding actually in the stool samples, they're still finding even 6 months after COVID dead COVID virus. They actually did a biopsy of all these people's colons, and they found dead virus still in the colon, which is crazy to me.
So how do you know, what long COVID, if you've had COVID, the long COVID just starts right away, or how do you know if you have it?
You can test certain markers. You can check and see the spike protein. You can check interleukins, which are cytokines, inflammatory markers. So there's a panel for long COVID, all in these interleukins, these inflammatory markers.
Okay.
And then I'll put you on a protocol with the NAD or the NMN. I love ivermectin. Oh my gosh, there's a great little video out called The War on Ivermectin with Dr. Pierre Corey from the Frontline Critical Care Alliance. Do you know FLCC?
No.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing. So there
was a lot of controversy about ivermectin, right?
So this little documentary explains, again, ivermectin's pennies on the dollar, so that's how they eradicated it. And in India, they were using it, and they had much better outcomes than we did in America, because We weren't really allowed to use it here, but now they're letting us use it, and I was compounding it, and the compounding pharmacies make it, and it's not that expensive, but it's great for long COVID.
Okay.
It really is excellent. So you can use ivermectin.
Is it like an antibiotic?
It's actually an antiparasitic.
Okay.
But it's antimicrobial.
Okay.
And, they use it up for all sorts of things. Like I know they use it in Lyme disease. They'll use it with other infections like even like malaria. But it helps the parasites. It kills them. So you can do a course of that with some IVs and some different peptides and supplements, and you can get rid of long COVID. But I always like to test, like, is it really long COVID? Do I know? But, your history tells you everything. Like I was fine until this happened.
Yes. And I started losing my hair. I noticed the hair loss. Actually, my hair is starting to kind of come back, I think, after that.
Are you on the Nutrafol?
Yes.
That really does work.
I love the Nutrafol. I've done that like off and on, but I would say for over a year, I guess. But and that baby hair started to grow and like a little spring chicken.
It's so common. We saw a lot of hair loss during COVID.
Oh, terrible.
And I'd say again, 8 out of 10, maybe the people I was seeing, they did have mycotoxins, and I was missing it because I was doing a urine test, which is like not the best way to test for mold. And so I started doing a blood test, which had more research, and I'm finding these people did have mold in their home. Think about it. You're stuck at home. Everything's shut down. You feel poorly because you're sick, and then you can't leave the house. So you're breathing in this air.
Yes.
So that is a big component of long COVID that I'm seeing. Also heavy metals, people that are full of different toxins. Their cells can't work properly because they're not optimized. So this virus has attacked the mitochondria, and pretty much all diseases that affect the brain and cause neurodegeneration and chronic fatigue, they're affecting the mitochondria. So, so if they're full of metals and toxins, they're just not going to work like they do. So like they should rather. So if we clean them up, detox them, give them a few things, they feel better within a few weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've done that. So the NAD IV that you have, is that one of the things you would use?
Yes, I love that. But if you can't afford that, there is a pill called NMN, because I don't want people to think I'm always pushing this or pushing that. Like you can do things naturally with supplements. So not all NMN is created equally, so you have to get one that works. So, the brand we use, love. And I also will compound it. So when you compound, you can make sure there's no dyes or chemicals or heavy metals in it, which the same thing goes with our methylene blue, since methylene blue neutralizes chemicals and toxins and free radicals. If you get like just one off the counter, like from say Amazon or something, it can have nickel, lead, and cadmium in it. So you have to be very careful your source of methylene blue. So again, I have it compounded at the compounding pharmacy to make sure it's clean. And I wanted to mention that because a lot of people are taking just something they get on the internet.
Yes.
And we don't know where that's from. We don't know the source. And if you are putting in a toxin, you're not going to get better, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I heard that like a while ago, never to, order any kind of supplements or anything like that on Amazon.
Yeah. You have to be careful because the warehouse where they store it may not have air conditioning and counterfeit. I know a lot of the companies we use, they have like an invisible, like a barcode that you can't see. And so when they find their product on Amazon and they know they don't sell on Amazon, they'll buy it. They'll scan this invisible barcode and it will show them it's counterfeit.
Wow.
Yeah. And God, years ago, when I just got into this field, I read this report. It was like a consumer report. It was some study on vitamin D. And they went to one of the health food stores. They bought 10 different vitamin Ds. And it was 7 out of 10 had like a fraction of the level that it said on the label. And then 3 didn't even have vitamin D in it. And
oh my gosh.
That same report, it was like they went to another health food store, I won't name names, and they took a few things off the shelf and tested them. And they had like house plants in them and just rice bran, like not even what you think.
Gosh.
And a lot of times people will get name brand vitamins that you can get at CVS or Walgreens. You think this is great. At least I'm taking a multi. Well, if you look at the ingredients list and then you look at the other additives list, you're going to find things like paint, like titanium dioxide and, red number 3 and red lake and all these food dyes, which are paint. Like,
wow.
That's one more thing for your poor little liver to detox.
Yeah.
And then they're using usually the synthetic form of vitamins. So it's like the mirror image of the vitamins. So it doesn't work as well as the natural form of the vitamin. So even though our vitamins are made in a lab, we're creating the bioidentical form versus a synthetic form that's like the isomer, like the mirror image of it. And it's more of a oxidant, so it causes oxidative stress, versus an antioxidant. So people have to be really careful, when they're taking something, you have to know the quality.
Yes. Just like anything, like your food, I think that's a good moral of the story is that you have to be an investigator and you have to look at everything and do the research. And that's what I loved. I always felt like if you were selling it in your location, that it was trusted, you had tested it, I know you guys do some third-party testing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's, you can't just get a knockoff version somewhere, because it's not going to be as effective.
Yeah, quality matters. So when people come in and they're on certain nutrients and they want to stay on them, I'm like, well, those really haven't been working well for you.
Yeah.
Maybe just pause them and let's try this program. And then if we can add them back, maybe, but I like to look at them. Mm-hmm. So if they don't bring them, then I'll Google it, but that takes so much more time, so I'll just say, just take a pause on them and let's start something fresh. You're coming to me from my experience. I've been doing this for 25 years. It's not my first rodeo with vitamins, and I know these work.
Yes. So trusted, trusted source there.
Right.
The NAD IV, I do want to talk about that for a second, because when I did it, I know it's supposed to be a slow, kind of how it comes into the vein. You can do it slow or you can speed up the...
Oh yeah, but don't speed it up too fast. You'll get nauseous.
No, I did it I was like, I'm sensitive, do it the slowest way possible. But I felt I don't know. I just felt everything was opened up. The colors were brighter. My eyes were I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I really love that IV. I've only done it once. I want to do it again.
Oh, you should definitely do a package, because for neurodegenerative disease, which not that you have it, but we're all having the aging brain, right?
Yeah.
You do a 10-pack and you slowly get to 1,000 milligrams. So you do the 250 twice and then the 500 twice and then 750 twice and you get to 1,000. And the closer you do them together, the more I can kind of build up your stores and help regenerate your brain and make the neurotransmitters work again. We love it for when people stop drinking. And I made the mistake of giving to someone who was an alcoholic and I didn't know. I didn't, because they didn't put it in their history. And of course I didn't ask enough questions, or they didn't divulge the information. I don't know. It made that person so sick, because it is working on the neurotransmitters for addiction. And so they had I would call it a Herxheimer, but probably more of a withdrawal. Yeah.
Wow.
So it probably for you, I don't know how much you were drinking in the past, but it does repair damage to the brain.
Yeah. I do, I did do it after I stopped drinking, but, that's so interesting. I just felt that is a good one.
It is so good for brain fog. Yeah. We should all definitely do it. I think it's, I think it makes you feel good. It just takes so much time.
Yeah, a couple hours.
Yeah, that's
right?
the only thing.
Yeah.
But you can try to get to the higher dose. And then I like shots of it too at home. I can do a little shot subcutaneous.
Yeah.
So we can sell you a little vial that you do at home. So you're getting a little bump that way as well.
I love that all of this stuff is if you just want to up level, maybe you're feeling pretty good, right? You might be feeling okay, but you just want to take it to the next level. That's where I felt I was going with, all of this is I just want to be, if I'm here, I want to be even clearer, or I want to feel, I want to feel more vibrant. And so I just love it. I love it.
It's like biohacking yourself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Ben Johnson, I think, you know him, he's the ultimate biohacker, right? And he puts his protocols on the website and you read it. It's pretty interesting. Now his study is N=1, or maybe it's him and his son and his dad. So N=3.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge study, but it's pretty cool. You can biohack yourself. I love the Oura Ring. I've had it for 3 years, but of course now it just broke. But what's nice about the Oura Ring or the Apple Watch, it will monitor your heart rate variability. So that's your ability to handle stress. What is the relationship with your sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system? And that's something I always forget to talk about with patients. I'll briefly talk about it. But
let's talk about it. If
you're stuck in fight or flight, in sympathetic overdrive, which is most of us, including myself, I can give you the best vitamins in the world and they're not going to work because your nervous system is too wound up tight. Your neurotransmitters are just not balanced and it won't work. Your body won't let it work. And I thought that was kind of BS until it happened to me. I was stress, it's not that big. Stress is real.
It's huge.
So we have little devices that there's so many now. There's 10 different ones that will help your body get out of that sympathetic overdrive. So fight or flight into rest and digest, which is parasympathetic. Okay. And so what worked for me, so I would see on my Oura Ring, my heart rate variability was I was dead.
Oh, wow.
It should be nice and high. And it was awful. So I wasn't wasn't handling stress well. And my sleep wasn't great either. So I got something called the Apollo Neuro.
Okay.
And I thought, this is genius. It's like this little device you wear on your wrist.
Okay.
And it sends like different pulses depending on what program you want. So I use like relaxation, or if I was like seeing a patient, I'd use one for memory or brain fog, focus, that kind of stuff. There's one for like meditation. So there's like 8 different programs. So you wear this little device while you're doing whatever it is you're doing. And then you can see how it affects your Oura Ring or your Apple Watch. So it's kind of like biohacking yourself, kind of neat. So that really did help me.
Okay.
Something else that I liked that we had was the brain tap. Have you heard of that?
No.
That's where they use the binaural beats in your brain. And it's kind of like sort of hypnotherapy, and you listen to music and it kind of gets you into this Zen state. I think it's like your theta state. So it gets you out of like being that, again, that hyperactive state to like calm. And so when you do that, your body will heal on its own. Wow. But if you're so wound up and stressed all the time, again, it just won't heal. So we always have to mention that, like, I've got to treat your stress levels. And again, the adaptogens that I take.
Yes, that helps.
Those help, of course. And yoga, exercise, meditation, transcendental meditation. My friend does that. That's going to work. In the office, I will also do something called True Vega. Have you seen that? I have to do that on you.
With the vagus nerve?
Yeah.
I want to know about this.
Have you tried it?
No, I haven't.
We got to get you. You do all these little. We have a biohacking day.
Yes.
With the cinnamon effect.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm in.
Yes, yeah. So the vagus nerve is the communication highway between the gut and the brain, and it regulates like how you're breathing and your heart rate, your anxiety, your digestion, and so years ago, they made an implant of this device to stimulate the vagus nerve to help with pain. The FDA approved it for pain.
Okay.
Well, then they found a way where you can put it on your vagus nerve next to like your carotid artery in your neck over here. And you didn't have to implant it, thank the Lord, right?
Right.
I don't want that in my body.
Yeah.
And you put this little device on your neck and you do it for 2 minutes. And there's like different levels. You can do it really high, which I don't recommend, or really low, and as it stimulates that nerve, it's palpable. Within a few minutes, you're just like, oh, this is what it's like to be chill. Like you don't even realize you're so stressed out all the time. Or at least I don't realize. Yes. But a lot of patients, I feel like they don't realize. So I'll do that when a patient's in my chair and they're all worked up about their illness because they've been to 20 different doctors and no one can help them. And, and I know, okay, this person's wound up really tight. So put them on it and then they just feel better. And it's so nice. Another thing I'll do, and you can buy that and take it home. And it's like not terribly expensive. I think it's like $250.
So just you feel like you're getting worked up.
Yeah, put it on.
Mm-hmm. It'll pulse and kind of send you back into.
It stimulates that vagus nerve and it helps it relax and you just kind of feel chill.
Wow.
And so you can do it like 2-3 times a day. Most people just do it once before bed. You can do it. But I will do it for a patient like in the IV room if their pressure's high. Because I don't want to give you an IV when your pressure's high for a second below vein. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So just to relax them or, just again, if they're sitting in my chair and they're anxious for whatever reason, we'll do it. But it will bring that pressure down like 20 points. Wow. But if your pressure's low already, it's not going to make you too low. At least I have not seen that at all.
Yeah.
But so it's great for migraines, anxiety. They use it for arrhythmias. So all sorts of fun things. And that's that True Vega that we have. It used to be called the Gamma Core.
Okay.
Another little thing that's so basic and easy is,
I love all these. Like literally, I'm going to listen back to this. I'm going to be taking notes.
Yeah. And there are on our website. We have them on like a little section, products that we love.
Oh, great. Okay.
Sauna will help get you out of like sympathetic overdrive too, because it kind of forces you to be relaxed.
Yeah.
But then I'll also, when I have a patient that's wound up, I will give them a little drink called Relax Max.
Okay. Relax Max.
Have you had that?
No.
Oh my goodness. It's our Virgin Cosmo. Like you've got to have the Relax Max.
Okay, Relax
I'll
Max.
put it in a martini glass for you with an umbrella. You'll love it.
My mocktail.
Yes. You could probably carry it when you go out. People do. So it has GABA and theanine that help you relax and get you out of that stressful state. And inositol, which is really good for our hormones. Inositol is amazing for pregnancy, fertility, even for people with brain and function issues and for menopause, like hormonal issues. So I like the inositol. So it helps the hormones, helps your blood pressure. It's got a little magnesium in it, but that's something, again, we'll just have patients do when they get off 95 to come see me and they're super stressed and they can't pay attention because they're so wound up, right? And then I've got these little homeopathic stickers I'll put on. And I thought for sure, Kimberly, these are not going to work. It's a sticker, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's like some NASA technology that's beyond my pay grade of understanding physics, but they somehow...
Like NASA, like astronauts.
Yeah.
Okay.
They put some sort of hologram in a sticker and it's got energy in it. Okay. Yes. So I don't understand really how it works, but it works with
these at your place.
Yeah. You have to try one.
Yeah.
So when they're selling them to me, I'm like, whatever, this isn't going to work. So I put it on, you put it on your left shoulder because it works with the energy of the body. And I guess in Chinese medicine, energy comes in from the left and goes out the right. Well, the stress and anxiety one works within 5 minutes. So you put this on and then people are just chilled and they can actually listen to what you say versus like it going over their head because you see how I am. I'm giving you 1,000 things.
Yes,
and like,
a lot of information.
Right, too much information a lot of times. You know, and I'm typing at the same time, so I'm trying to get my notes all right. Oh my God, it's crazy. But it's like you're paying for an hour to see me. I want to give you as much as I can in that hour. You know, and then I know my nurse is going to go over it with you later, and I know you're probably going to call and email me a few times, but that's okay.
Yes,
I want you to have everything you need to get your body better, quick, fairly quickly. So this little sticker chills you out enough to like help you. And again, it's not like 100%, but I'd say like 8 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times, people are like, oh my God, I really like that. Thank you. I'm going to buy some, and they're cheap.
Yeah.
They're
that's
cheap.
cool.
Yeah.
You're like, sit down. Let me slap a sticker on your
drink the Kool-Aid, take the sticker,
and prepare to be transported into a wellness.
Buckle up for the ride.
Exactly. And you know what? It's such an amazing ride. I think to really evaluate your health like that, and to try these new things. It's not all cookie cutter and like this pill is going to help you. You're a unique individual. It's your unique journey, right? So I love that.
Because that's green medicine. And that's what I used to do. Like, do these pills and this is going to fix you. It's like, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get to deep stuff that's in you that I can't maybe just fix with a pill. So I have to find all these different modalities to help change your chemistry. And definitely not cookie cutter. Right? Yeah,
no. And what about like the emotional component to things? Like, do you find a lot of your patients that maybe have a lot of things going on with them?
So much.
There's definitely some kind of emotional.
I think emotion is huge.
Emotional trauma.
That trauma lasts with you forever. I mean, look what I went through just as a kid being chubby, right? So we have a health coach and she'll work with you, and then we have different therapists we'll refer to as well. But if you're not healthy emotionally, it's really hard to heal physically. So mind-body connection is huge. So I'm a big Christian. I really encourage everyone to pray or to go to church, because that congregation, not the dogma of religion per se, I don't love that, but when you're someplace worshiping something bigger than you, your creator, you're overcome, in my case with the Holy Spirit, and it really transcends the physical. And so it really helps that emotional. So for me, that works. But if for people that don't do that, they can just do some yoga and meditate or do the transcendental meditation, because there are studies. I didn't realize that on transcendental meditation. I just went to a talk, and this lady that teaches it was saying they went to the DC area. It was this huge group of meditators, and they went to this DC area. They did this study with the police there, and they were all praying for peace and for crime to go down. And don't you know, it was like the summer that they were there. The crime, everything went down, and it was like exponentially. It was definitely something. It wasn't a fluke. It was like more than normal. And then when they stopped meditating, and they left that area, everything went back to the normal statistics that area had.
Wow.
And if you Google it, there's research on it. So it's really interesting. We don't really tap into that. I feel like in general, as Americans, we're not really taught that in school. That seems a little bit more Eastern.
Yes.
But there's things that we can do to heal ourselves. Our body is meant to heal itself.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
Buffalo, New York.
Oh, okay. Okay. When did you come to Florida?
I was a senior in high school, because my dad was sick, and then he couldn't get out of there because he owned his own practice for a while. And then finally he got a job in Florida and moved us.
Wow. Yeah. And when you were saying in the previous episode about how your dad had a heart attack, and you were like, you started revising everything that you were eating and all of that. How did the rest of your family kind of, were you like manipulating what they were eating and stuff, or were they kind of like, oh, Elizabeth's doing her thing over here and we're just going to let her do it?
They were so busy, because my parents both had their own careers and jobs, so they were so busy. I don't even think they even noticed, honestly. And I was trying to help my dad, but they, he's a softie deep down, but he's a blowhard. So he would kind of take my knowledge with a grain of salt, but then deep down when he's sick and I help him, because he's had COVID twice and I've pulled him, out of it both times and kept him out of the hospital, even though he's got major cardiac issues. But I'm blessed to still have him. Thank God. So, but he will come around when he needs me, but when he is feeling well, he's like, oh, but he does come in for his weekly chelation, which does help heart disease. So he's a believer, but he's tough. But so I think they just kind of let me do whatever I wanted, because they weren't there.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. But it really helped me, and it changed my life because I was going down the path of obesity, heart disease, and diabetes myself.
Yeah. What a blessing you are, though, to everyone that knows you.
It's a gift, right? When we go through something like that as a child, when it changes your life. Like you have to, make lemonade out of lemons, right?
Yes, exactly right. So you have been open as well about talking about hormones and how you were kind of thrust into menopause recently. So can you talk about that a little bit?
That was very difficult. And I was pretty cocky because I'm like, I know how to balance hormones. I've been doing it for years. Well, I hadn't been my age and I didn't have my ovaries, taken out.
Right.
so I did a genetic test. My gynecologist recommended it because my dad's adopted and we don't know that side of the family.
Yeah.
And it's called the Myriad, and you can do it with your gynecologist. We have it in our office. Most insurances cover it. And it showed I had all these ovarian cancer genes and fallopian cancer and breast cancer genes. So I was like, I didn't even know.
Wow.
And I've always been healthy. My thermographies were fine. I had only at that point done one mammogram in my life because I don't love all the radiation you're getting in the breast tissue. And there's other ways to check the breast, but either way, I never had a problem with my breasts. So she said, do an ultrasound of your ovaries. Let's just make sure everything's okay. My periods were regular. I had no problems. Everything felt good. The only thing I could think retrospectively is I had to pee a lot, but as you can see.
Yeah, you're drinking a lot of water.
I already had a liter of water today, right? This morning, and it's not even, I guess it is noon now.
Yeah.
But, the day's not even half over. So I do this ultrasound. I have this huge mass the size of a grapefruit on my right ovary. And they're like, oh my God, you got to get this out. This is cancer because your genetics get it out today. And this was in March of 2023. And I'm like, I don't have time. I'm in season. Yeah. I've got patients. I've got a 3-month wait. Like this is my fight or flight. I am too busy to get my ovaries taken out. So I did a test called the Gallery and it showed me I didn't have cancer right now. Not that that's like 100% sensitive, but it's pretty sensitive for 50 different cancers. So it gave me some time to schedule the surgery. So I put the surgery on off till June 2023. And I had my hormones optimized. So I thought but again, I wasn't in menopause, I suppose I was perimenopause, but because I was older, but everything was working properly. My hormones were fine. So they took out the ovaries. No one really even talked to me about hormones. Like, they're like, yeah, if you want to go on them, you're fine. Yeah. But now after they took them out, like, oh my God, the feeling inside, you just want to scream. Think of yourself on like 10 cups of coffee and not eating for a day. Like, wow. I felt like angry and irritable and like nothing was right, like just edgy. And I'm like, damn, I'm on hormones. What the heck? So I doubled the dose of hormones that I was on and it helped. I was a little bit more normal. But then I wound up going on pellets, and I've done pellets a few times. I love and hate them. I love them because you're getting straight hormones 24/7. And so it's trying to mimic what your ovaries are doing. But our ovaries don't give you the same dose 24/7. They kind of balance, and it depends what the pituitary tells you need. So your hypothalamus. So that did save me, though I will say. The pellets were really, really good. And then I skipped my progesterone accidentally a few nights, and I got a period. And I'm thinking, how could I have a period? I don't have my ovaries. Well, I still have a uterus, so wow. It was just so crazy. Yeah. And then I started losing hair because I got too much testosterone for myself. And I was on Nutrafol because I know that can happen. But my dihydrotestosterone went up too much. So these are things that, no one's really telling you, and I know about. But so I then took a DHT inhibitor, and that helped. And then the pellets wore off. Now I'm back on cream and I feel like a normal person again. Okay. But it was amazing to me. Like, what a journey. Like, I was scary. I was angry, irritable. I couldn't sleep. I gained a few pounds, but I knew how to deal with that. Like, that wasn't as big of a deal because they say when you go through menopause, you gain about 20 pounds. Wow. So I could see, not having the knowledge that I have, what it was doing, because that stress, that cortisol was just like through the roof. Yes. But women, I'm telling you, you need hormones. And we've been programmed to say, hormones cause cancer. But when you really read the studies, it's less. Like, statistically, it shows people on hormones don't have any more increasing risk of cancer than those who are not on hormones. So that makes me happy. Now, and not all hormones are created equally. You want bioidentical. So they're made from, yams and soy. I do now like the cream better because I can tell, like, if I'm a little hot, I need a little more estrogen. Or if I'm, like my breasts are too tender, I know I need to take more iodine and a little less estrogen. So like, you know how to like you can do 1 click of the cream or 2 clicks, or maybe I need 3 clicks on some days.
Yes.
So you can kind of feel it out, whereas the pellets, like you're stuck with them.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, at that time, I needed the pellets.
Yeah. To like kind of equalize a little. And then you can,
yeah. You just have to be careful and monitor everything. And that's why I do blood tests, because people say, why do you do blood every few months? I'm like, because things are changing, and I'm trying to, work with the body and balance it. And, I can't exactly mimic what your brain would do.
Yeah.
So I need blood tests to figure it out. And I think one of the really good tests to really check what your hormones are doing is that Dutch test. It's just, It's not covered by insurance. Have you ever done that one?
No, is that,
it's a urine test.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it gives you all the metabolites of the hormones, because when you're on a cream, you really can't trust the serum or the blood level. You really need to see the metabolite in the urine. So I think at least once a year, everyone on hormones should do a Dutch test.
Okay.
Whether they do them or not, because of money, because it's like $300 or $400, people don't necessarily do it, but there's ways around it. And, you can go by symptoms. You can look at the FSH and LH levels. So there's certain things I can do in the blood, but, man, what a ride that was for me.
What a ride. And was it kind of shocking to you that you were like, because you're so on top of your own health, obviously, right?
I was way too cocky. I thought this is going to be a breeze. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was not. And like people, and especially because it was just thrown into it. It wasn't like the gentle, like, oh, my periods are every few months now. It was like, boom, your periods are regular every 28 days, and now you have no period.
Yeah. Emotionally, how did that?
Oh, I felt less sexy. That's probably part of the reason I did that photo shoot. I didn't feel
she did a boudoir photo shoot for Terry.
It's for my 50th.
For your 50th, which I love that. Yeah.
It's for myself and for him, honestly.
Yeah.
Can I do that again? Can I get in that great shape?
Yeah.
But you feel less like, am I not feminine because I don't have my body parts? And my husband was like, why don't you take out your uterus? You don't need it. I'm like, the uterus, just because it's not making hormones. Well, I think it does do something actually, but it still holds up your bladder. Like, you take out your uterus if you say he says you don't need it. He's a man, he doesn't know.
Right.
But say you take out your uterus, you're going to start having incontinence, and then the bladder starts to fall, and then you have to have your bladder tacked up. So you want to keep whatever body part you can. And I didn't have a risk for uterine cancer. It was ovarian and fallopian cancer, But there was something about losing the ovaries. I felt a little less feminine, but I got over that. I worked through it, prayed about it, and now I feel fine. And I think it's just, being on the right dose of creams made a huge difference.
Yes.
But I can't imagine not being on them. When I see women in their 50s and they are really moody and irritable, I'm just like, oh, you don't realize those hormones are not just for libido. They are for the way your mood is. They have to make you happy and joyful again. Like, I had no joy briefly for a while there. Like, I just had anxiety and stress and anger. And I'm not an angry person. Like, I'm a happy person.
You're a very happy person.
Yeah, bubbly. Yeah. Like, I'm vibrant and bright. I like the sun. And I was just like this Debbie Downer, gloomy, angry person. So, it makes serotonin. The estrogen does. The progesterone makes GABA. The testosterone makes dopamine. So these are all things that, as a woman, when we do go through menopause, that we're losing the ability to make those neurotransmitters, and it can make us grumpy and angry and irritable.
Yeah.
And gain weight.
Yeah.
Because it affects the insulin. Again, getting back to the insulin.
Gosh. Yeah. So I know I've actually had a couple of friends that have gotten hysterectomies, like in their 30s. And so that's something that they have to look at, right?
Were they put on hormones? Do you know?
I don't know the specifics, but I just know, kind of going through that experience relatively young.
Yeah, so young. And we're seeing more and more cancers in young people, unfortunately. And they're linking that with the plastics and the pesticides and the genetically altered foods. It's just, it's definitely a pandemic, cancer.
Yeah, for sure. Something you have to constantly stay on top of.
So you want to
evaluate.
It, right.
Yeah.
It's easier to prevent a disease than to treat. Yeah. In my opinion.
Oh my gosh, sure. Elizabeth.
Sorry.
So many things. Oh my gosh. To wrap up, I would love to... So I want to talk about some of the modalities that you do at the office. Really, you're not going to find this stuff anywhere else. So tell me some of this exciting stuff.
Yeah, some of the juicy things we do.
Yes.
So about the red light. So that builds collagen, elastin. It penetrates into the body up to 2 inches. And I got the strongest one in the market, so you don't have to be in there forever, which is nice.
Love it.
You want to go in totally naked and take your methylene blue to activate the mitochondria.
Yes.
And we even have little makeup cloths in there, because ideally you want to take off your makeup, because you want those those far infrared rays going into your skin. So that's like a fun thing. After you get off that, well, actually before I have you on the red light, I have you on a PEMF. Have you done the PEMF? Did you do that day?
I did.
So
I did.
That's the pulsed electromagnetic frequency mat. And so you're on that for about 12 minutes. That's kind of like a lymph massage. It massages all the organs. It goes to the area of pain using magnet signals. And that one, it floods the cells with electrons. So it helps kind of recharge your battery of your cell. Because as we age, the cell kind of loses charge. So that's why we're always looking for antioxidants. So something like methylene blue donates electrons to the cell that help with anti-aging. The ocean does that with the ions, right? And then this PEMF mat does that too. So it's an inexpensive modality that we just sell like a package. Whether you do that, you do the red light, and then you get on the Vibe plate. And I was like, not big on the Vibe plate, but then I started researching the Vibe plate. That thing, did you do that after?
I did the jiggler. I called it the jiggler.
There's all these programs. There's one for body composition. There's one for heart disease. There's one for joint pain, osteoporosis. So by using the vibration plate, it actually helps with your lymph again to get all those little toxins that we just released from the red light and from the PEMF out, and so it goes into your urine. But they did all these studies that actually increases bone density. So I thought that was really neat with their little Vibe plate. Yeah. And then weight loss, and it's really good for people with lymphedema. This is like, not lymphedema, well, lymphedema too, but there's all these problems now with people's lymph. And I don't know if that's a connective tissue disease that we just didn't know about when I was in school, but it seems like we're seeing a lot more problems with the fascia and the lymph lately. I think it has to do with all the toxins and infections, but who knows at this point? We need more research. So that's our little triad we're doing, the Tringali triad.
Yes,
PEMF,
love it.
Red light, Vibe plate. And then the IVs, you've experienced most of them. We talked about the NAD. We do IV exosomes. So exosomes are these little vesicles. Okay. That's stuff I put on my face.
Yeah, we talked about the topical in the previous episode. Yeah.
So you can do an IV of them. So these little vesicles of messenger RNA that go around the stem cell. And like when they, the ones we are using right now, they take your blood. It's a company called, PPX is the company, but I can't remember the main name. Anyway, the PPX is the company. We take your blood, we take 60 cc's of it. We send it to the lab. They concentrate these little exosomes. So part of the stem cells without DNA that reboot your DNA. So it's messenger RNA. So it's the signaling part of the cell to tell your body to work more efficiently again. So as we age, we kind of lose signaling. So it's kind of like a signal. It's like a reboot. Okay. So I love it for autoimmune disease. So I'm starting to finally get, because I just added those maybe a few months ago, that particular one, because those are autologous, meaning from your own body. So I'm starting to get results back where autoimmune markers are now going down. Wow. And I was kind of snooty when I first heard about it. I'm like, well, I'm old. I don't really want my exosomes. I want a baby's. Like that was like, before I was doing cord blood ones I like. And those are not FDA approved. You'd have to sign a waiver to do them. But the cord blood, like you're getting the baby exosomes. Well, so far from what I'm seeing in the lab work I'm getting back, it works the same. And when I talked to the researchers there, the PhDs, he says when they test the person's exosomes, so say a 50-year-old person's exosomes, they're working just like the babies in terms of lowering inflammation and interleukins and in the cell culture. So he's doing like an in vitro study, so like in a petri dish. But it's nice to know they're at least studying like, hey, do these things work? Am I wasting my money?
Right.
And so I've done them twice for my own exosomes versus the babies. The first time I did it, I have to say I just felt like more mental clarity. Okay. And they can last up to 3 months. The second time I just noticed less inflammation in general. Like my body is less inflamed and I was sleeping better. When I do the baby ones, it's from a cord blood. So a woman will have a C-section. Mm-hmm. And then they usually donate the placenta and the cord blood to the hospital. I think they should get paid, but they don't.
Yeah, right. Some compensation for that. Yeah.
I just grew this baby for 9 months in my uterus. Like, you pay me for that cord blood, but they don't. But somebody's buying them from the hospital anyway. They take them, they purify them, they clean them up, and they make it into a sterile little saline like ampule, and you can put that in IV. And so that's what I was doing in the past, actually for long COVID, because I had long COVID and I liked it, and it really helped my energy. And we did a little mini study of nebulizing them for long COVID, and 4 out of 5 people in the study got better with all the markers in the blood, and they felt better by just nebulizing these little exosomes from a baby. So it was so interesting.
Interesting.
I think that study was actually amniotic fluid that was purified. But what I like about it is there's no DNA in it. And it's just basically working like a hormone or a peptide. It's just giving the body messenger RNA to give it a reboot. And if you have certain genetics that aren't great, you think, well, is it going to reboot that? I don't want to turn on bad genes.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. It works on like optimizing your good genes epigenetically. So pretty neat. So with the baby cord blood exosomes that I've had, that I noticed probably more energy and quickly. So when I did that IV, I felt like less brain fog. Same thing as I did with my own, but it was fast. Okay. And it's different with each baby versus your blood's going to probably be the same every time, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So each baby has different growth factors. So it's an area that's being studied. It's not like, they haven't perfected it yet, but I do know since there's no DNA, I'm not worried about getting any infections or anything like that.
Is that the difference from like a stem cell treatment to an exosome? Is that the stem cell has DNA
that has DNA
in it?
From the baby.
Okay.
Yeah. And those are illegal in America unless you're using your own. But again, if you're older and you're using your own stem cells, like from your bone or your adipose, they may or may not work. But I mean, I've read the studies, they do work. A lot of the orthopedics in the area are doing them, like especially in Boca, I know a few, and they absolutely work. It's just, if you have the option of getting it from a beautiful, healthy baby that doesn't have all the same stressors and age that we've had,
Right. So interesting.
But that is like, I think, the future of medicine, because the states are a little behind in that area because we've had a lot of debate of using stem cells in America. But in other countries, their research is great. Like in France and Italy, they're using them more often than we are.
Is the controversy that it just turns into like a market, right? So then like...
I think it's political.
Okay. Political thing.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate because it works and it makes you feel better. And again, epigenetically, it's helping your body reprogram itself to heal, which is the whole, that's what we want. We want to heal ourselves, right? And for something basic that there's no chemicals in, like that's great,
Yeah.
So that's something kind of really fun that we do.
Yeah.
And then our IVs that we use in the clinic are preservative free. So the best we can. Sometimes there are some products you have to get that you can't get any other way, but 90% of everything we use is preservative free. And we do add more to our IVs, so they are more concentrated. So when you go to the other IV clinics that are popping up and they're wonderful, they're using 4 ingredients and then they charge you per ingredient. I've never done that and I won't do that. I want to give you as much as I can to make a big difference in your health in that little bit of time I have you, because everyone's so darn busy, right?
Yes.
So that's one of the big things I see. And we have probably more options of IVs because we're more medical. We're not just like a hangover type clinic.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely elevated. I have gone in there. I usually pre-travel, or if there's something big I've got going on, I'll come in and get the Myers IV with glutathione, and it just makes me feel so much better. Yeah.
You're giving yourself a bunch of antioxidants to help, with your immune system and stress. Have you done the ozone IV?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's great. Again, once you get that ozone into your body, it turns into peroxide, because people say, why don't you give a hydrogen peroxide IV? Hydrogen peroxide IV is not going to work as well as an ozone IV, but it's great for, again, boosting the immune system. It's antimicrobial. It helps increase nitric oxide. It turns on the NRF2 or NRF2 pathway, which is like the exercise pathway. So it's doing so many different things to help regenerate your body. It's like blood doping. I'm giving you these 3 molecules of oxygen in your blood.
Yes.
And doing it IV. I don't do direct intravenous ozone because you could have like an embolus. I don't even think that's legal anymore. So that's where they just take air and inject it in your vein. We don't do that. No. We take out your blood. We inject the blood with ozone, which your body's like, it's 3 molecules of oxygen. So your body's like, oh, great. You're just giving me like an oxygen dump, putting it in a bag and then putting it back in your body.
It does feel good.
You got to I love that one.
I love it. And it's like bright. That blood looks like bright red and healthy coming back in.
Yeah.
And I had to, needles are not my thing. And so I had to really kind of wrap my mind around doing that. But I have used it as a great tool to, if I'm feeling like maybe I'm a little under the weather, or I'm extra stressed, or, then I will try and add one of those into my routine, if I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely before you travel, you fly, or before some huge event. Like if you're going to Disney World, you probably want to get one.
Yeah. Right? Like a little extra protection. Yeah.
And then after Disney World, or after, so I do it before I go to a conference and after I go to a conference. And then I do travel with my ivermectin as well, because it is antiviral, right? So I'll take it preventatively before I travel, and I'll take some when I come home as well. This this time, God, I've had COVID twice with the girls in the office. We got it at the same time for 2 years in a row. This year I didn't get it and they all got it. Not that I wanted them to get it, but I was on the ivermectin because I had just been traveling, and the ladies I was in this training with in a small little office in our room in our office, they all got it. So 4 girls were out with it. And I was blessed to be on the ivermectin for prevention. So that worked.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it did work.
Yeah. Because COVID is nasty.
Yeah,
I don't want that again.
It can be nasty. No. Mm-hmm. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. Round 2 was so great. So many bits of goodness that I'll have to reflect back on too. And tell everyone where they can find you, where they can get your supplements, all that good stuff.
So you can get our supplements on our website, and there's lots of specials that we have on the website. You can subscribe and save. So that's at shop.Tringali, Tringali -health, HEALTH.com. So shop.Tringali-health.com. Or you can come to the office. We've got an office in Palm Beach Gardens on PGA and Prosperity, and then one downtown West Palm on Fern and Olive. And then our website is Tringali-health.com. And our number is 561-283-1166.
Yeah, you got it.
I got it this time. And you can find us on Instagram at Tringali Health as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, this was so much fun. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to seeing you in the office and indulging you in some new little treats we have.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to do it. Okay. I'm going to do it. Thank you so much for listening. If you guys love this episode, please rate it, review it, share it with someone you love, someone who wants to up-level their health. And we'll see you next time on The Cinnamon Effect.